Hello friends, welcome to the fourth part of the Academy's 1:48 scale Curtis P-40 build. In this video, I will paint the model, add masking, decals, weathering and pigments. Before the painting procedure, I clean the model with technical alcohol. The goal is to remove dust, grease and filth. For a more united surface, I always use a primer surfacer. Now I can start with the paint job. The first step is to apply a pre-shading. This way, I highlight all panel lines and artificial shadows. I still have some black paint left, so I paint the wheels as well. To the camouflage. The machine I'm building has the nickname Cleopatra 3 and belongs to the 80th Squadron of the Royal Australian Air Force. The aircraft has unique camouflage features like a white tail and wings leading edges. It definitely looks much more interesting like the other camo offers from the box. I started to paint the model with the white paint. I paint every panel separately and try to create a contrast between them. The pre-shading helps me to control the amount of paint applying. When I'm satisfied, I add a post-shading to highlight more details. The same way are painted the wings leading edges. Next is masking. For not overpainting the white surface with the camouflage color, I mask them with masking tape. A good trick is to use a liquid mask to cover all small gaps. The liquid mask also serves as a solid bonder. You can also use it on glossy surfaces. Now I can start to paint the lower part of the model. The procedure is similar like on the white surfaces. I thin the gray paint in a 1:4 mix ratio to thinner and apply the paint in several thin layers. The pre-shading still must be visible. After that, I paint every panel separately and try to create artificial shades by adding less or more paint. In the end, I add a drop of white paint to the original grey one and create a post-shading effect. And again, more masking. The reason is that the transition between the grey and olive colors is sharp. and I also don't want to overpaint the grey color with the olive one. The painting procedure for the olive drab is the same like on the grey one. Adding thin down paint in several layers and trying not to cover the black paint shading. Painting each panel separately and add artificial shades with post shading. The camouflage painting is done. I carefully removed the masking tape. But there is still a masking to do. I need to paint the wheel wells and the folded landing flaps. The wheel wells and landing flaps are pre-shaded. With a thin down paint, I slowly create nice artificial shades. The whole painting procedure is tricky, because there is not much space for the airbrush. After I'm done with the landing flaps, I paint details like the spinner and landing gear. I purchased new acrylic paints for paintbrushing. Through a long period of time, I tested a lot of different brands. I think that the Vallejo model colors are one of the best. They are good to apply, have a perfect coverage, and easy to thin. After I'm done with painting small details, I seal the paint job with a glossy varnish coat. Next, I add decals. First, I apply a water-thin Vallejo decal fixer with a paintbrush. Then, I place the decal into a right position and remove all air bubbles and unnecessary water with a cotton bud. Next, I apply a decal softener chemical, and with a cotton bud I create rivets and panel lines. For not destroying the decals with weathering chemicals, I seal the decals with a glossy varnish coat. I began to weather the Kittyhawk by applying a black panel line wash from Tamiya. I rather use a paintbrush because there is so much to cover, and the paintbrush applying is much faster. Tamiya washes dry very fast. After a few minutes I can remove the unnecessary wash with a cotton bud soaked in enamel thinner. My goal is to keep the wash only in the panel lines and rivets. For the next weathering step, I must apply a matte varnish coat. My favorite weathering paints are oil paints. Yes, they are pretty common in modeling, but you can achieve a very nice weathering effect with them. I'm testing new methods like weathering pencils or airbrush mopping, but these techniques are very tricky and time-consuming. Creating weathering with oil paints is much easier. Hand control and patience is also needed, and this weathering technique has its cons. For example, if you are not satisfied with the result, you can easily remove the oil weathering with enamel thinner. Creating weathering effect with an airbrush is much harder, and if you only mess up a small surface area, you must repeat the whole painting process all over again. Let's cover the oil weathering with another layer of matte varnish. In this project, I didn't use the chipping fluid. It became very common in my last project like the ACM50 or the MiG-29AS, so I decided to create chipping by AK weathering pencils. Applying the soft pencil pigment was pleasant. The whole chipping process took me an hour to complete. Compared to the chipping fluid, it looks quite okay. If you want to, let me know in the comments which method do you like more, pencils or chipping fluid. The next step is pigmentation. I mixed a couple of pigments to create a Pacific soil. First, I applied the pigment on tires and the fuel tank, and then on the bottom side of the aircraft. A used and flown combat aircraft is always dirty from field conditions, especially in the Pacific theater. Alright, the weathering is done. Now I cover it with a final layer of a matte varnish. Assembling the model was pretty fast. There was only a slight problem with the geometry of the landing gear legs. At the end, I paint the navigation lights with a translucent red and blue color, remove masking from the cockpit, and add an antenna wire. And the Academy's 1:48 scale Curtiss P-40 Kittyhawk is finally finished. This project was very interesting and pleasant for me to build. The kit has few shortcomings in details, but with the help of some modifications, a very decent model can be built. It helped me to prepare myself for the next upcoming project. I hope you enjoyed the build like I did. Please subscribe to my channel, like or leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching guys, see you next time, and here's the final reveal.